Aerospace has always been kind of an important part of mechanical engineering.
We are working on renewable aviation fuels, and we want to make sure that they are stable and that they produce the least amount of emission.
The project that I'm doing, it is kind of a basic setup of what can be done next. The idea is to reduce emissions and at the same time have a much better performance.
The major goal of the project is to generate alternative fuels that do two things. One is they're renewable, and two is they burn cleaner than the regular fuels do. Imperium Renewables is our industry partner for this project, and they have the largest biorefinery in the country. They're out in Grays Harbor County. They would love to break into a position where they're producing fuel that blends into aerospace.
We create biodiesel from vegetable oil. So we bring canola oil from the US and Canada. We turn it into biodiesel at our facility down in Hoquiam, Washington. Our facility is a 100 million gallon a year biodiesel production facility. It's one of the largest in the world.
So this is one of the motivating concerns for the study, is this is showing soot emissions measurements downstream of Los Angeles Airport. So here's the airport right here. Planes take off heading west. The wind blows off of the ocean and is carrying the soot back across the basin. Our goal is to try to generate a fuel that produces less of this soot and therefore reduces the health impacts associated with breathing it.
The alternative fuels for aviation really need to be focused on three core principles. It has to be sustainable, so it can't come from food crops. It has to be cost effective, in other words, it has to be cheap enough to be competitive with petroleum, and it has to be extremely high quality.
My background was in renewable energy, and I also wanted to do something in combustion that had something to do with renewable fuels and working for the environment. So in this lab, we do a lot of emission testing for different fuels. So that was something very interesting.
My project is basically on studying the sooting tendencies for different aviation fuels, and I use this combustor called the Meeker burner to basically burn the fuels that we have, all the samples, and check for the fuel and air equivalence ratio at which they start sooting. If I reduce the fuel, it would go away with all the yellow streaks and I'll have a blue flame. At this stage, all the carbon that is inside the fuel, it is being converted into carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide, and it's not being converted into pure carbon. Based on that, I can deduce how much amount of fuel is being used. And then I can make a comparison between different fuels at which fuel and air ratio they try to form soot.
And I think that's what's been particularly valuable about the JCATI funding is the very close coordination between what the industry wants to have happen and what the students see in the laboratory.
Recognizing the significant research capabilities in the state, both through University of Washington, Washington State University, and Pacific Northwest National Lab, those types of entities allow companies like Imperium, a Washington-based company, the opportunity to partner in research and development where we don't have that core focus. But we want to continue to innovate, and obviously universities like University of Washington are innovation hubs.
I think the JCATI funding has put us a point where we understand things about how the fuels behave that we absolutely didn't before. First thing, the JCATI funding showed us that the various renewable fuels all do behave differently. Some produce very low carbon emissions, some produce higher carbon emissions.
If this effort is successful, we could expand our facility, add more folks to our team, and really continue to be an economic force for the Grays Harbor community.
from the standpoint of Washington State aerospace industry, the people who are producing these fuels, if they know how to make them so they reduce the emissions, they're going to have an inside track to the market.